10th, 2024 to order. Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing as the Reverend Jeff Belmer says our opening prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we just give you a great hallelujah. Such a beautiful day to be in this beautiful community. We ask your blessing upon each and every one of our leaders here. We pray, Heavenly Father, to bless their families. And Lord, we just lift up the situations in our community, things we know about, we don't know about. And we just ask you, Lord, Jesus, to walk these roads, walk into the homes, Lord, and bring your blessings and mercy and grace and healing to us. In Jesus' strong name we pray.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Thank you very much. Call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Eichhorst.
Present.
Councilman Iyer.
Present.
Councilwoman Fernbacher.
Present.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Here.
Mayor Lambert.
Here, first item on the agenda is public comments and presentations. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll continue. Next item on the agenda is presentation of the consent agenda, which includes to approve minutes of the council meeting on May 28th, 2024. Approval and authorized payments of accounts payable June 11th, 2024. Raffle license from Rolling Thunder, Illinois number 3. Payment request for Whittle Avenue Railroad Project and reappointment to various boards and commissions. Any of these items need to be removed from the consent agenda? I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda under presentation of ordinances and resolutions, discussion and possible action on the dog park. Mrs. Hent. Mr. Hent.
I've got a slightly updated drawing. Well, you guys probably have it already. Nice and color.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
All right, my name is Morgan Hinton. I am the current chairman of the Parks and Recreation Board, as well as a vice chairman on the county board. And today I'm coming to speak to you guys about some possible action for the Only Dog Park. So to jog memories of some of the council that wasn't on the board at the time, back in 2015, the Parks and Recreation Board passed a comprehensive plan for all the city parks and recreational spaces. And in that 2015 plan was a dog park slotted for the area just south of Miller's Grove on the east side of East Street that kind of attaches to the Miller's Grove Park. It's an open field, lots of trees, lots of shade, lots of grass. Currently that park is I guess the correct term would be underutilized. Really, there's no playground equipment, there's no restrooms, there's no activity at that park for the most part, besides an occasional fisherman, an occasional person taking a walk. And so that's why the Only Parks and Rec Board put that dog park in that location. The location has been approved by previous city councils, but I figure it's been some time where we kind of bring that up and kind of make sure everybody was still on board with the design overall and the placement and things like that. So as far as the need of a dog park, we feel like there is a need from back in the 2015 Parks and Rec group, just because there's not really many substantial dog parks in the area. The closest one to here would be Flora, which theirs is very minimal, which is fine, but until you get to like Effingham or the St. Louis area, you guys really have much of a very comprehensive, all-inclusive dog park. According to the National Recreation and Park Association, survey from 2018, it says 91% of Americans believe a dog park is a benefit to their local community. 60% of those give dogs a safe space to exercise and roam around freely, which I'll point you to section 6.04.020, running at large prohibited. That's under your city ordinance for animals. No owner or keeper of any dog or cat shall permit such dog or cat to run at large in the city at any times. Also section 6.04.030, nuisances. Again, any dog or cat which runs at large is declared to be a public nuisance. So with your guys' current ordinances, we obviously want somewhere where animals or dogs can roam freely, pet owners can enjoy some free space, exercise both them and their animals. So as far as the basics of the park, you guys should have kind of the map in front of you. It's basically, the only difference is it's shrunk just a little bit. It doesn't go so far to the east. That way we leave a little bit extra space for turning in vehicles like trucks or things for maintenance inside the park. We want it to be easy for the park department to get, say, trucks, backhoes, or anything inside the park easily, so it shrunk just a little bit to the west. I went a little more in depth on the entrance there on the drawing you guys do have. Also, we actually did shrink a little bit to the east, I guess, as well. We decided to put the fence on the east side of those front line of trees. That way, you're not competing with root space, and you're not right up against the sidewalk, essentially. So, besides those, the same general feel and plan has stayed intact since that 2015 to 2018. We really started kind of putting effort towards this. So you'll see it's divided in two spaces, one small dog side, one large dog space. The dogs parks I've been to in the past really don't utilize the small dog space very often, so that's why a larger area is dedicated to the large dog side. The perimeter fence will be approximately 882 feet. The small dog fence will be approximately 200 feet, which would include those two fences. 3 gates of the main entrance on the west side of the park leading off East Street. That'll separate dogs from the street and the park. That way there's 2 layers of security, so dogs can't just run straight out of one gate onto East Street. Like I said, that southeastern corner, there's a 12-foot truck vehicle gate. In the middle between the small and large dog, there's a, say, 6-foot-ish, big enough for mower to get inside of that. From talking with Frank Bradley, those are 2 things he wanted to see. Is the gates large enough for vehicles and mowers? Ideally, we'll have a 5 or 6 foot vinyl coated fence. Black vinyl is one we're kind of looking at in pricing. It'll depend on where fence pricing does come in, whether we go with black vinyl or galvanized, just kind of depending on overall funding. Also, some of the extras we'll have in the park are water stations, which would be like for the dogs only, no people consumption. Several benches, a picnic table in the large dog side, trash cans for waste, signage, possibly some agility equipment, and waste stations, 1 can on each the large side and small side up towards the front entrance. That way there's maintenance workers aren't going to have to go throughout the entire park collecting all the waste basket. The baskets will be up front, so ease of access up there. As far as other maintenance issues we've been kind of looking at is overall there's not going to be, I mean, it's already being mowed, it's already being weed eated. One thing that Frank Brandley did request is the fence to be slightly off the ground compared to, like, say, the ball field fences. They're kind of like straight on the ground level, makes it a little bit difficult to weed eat. So he did request that maybe 1 inch or 2 off the ground. So obviously we'll try to accommodate that. I mean, it's still being mowed and weed eated, so I don't feel like the maintenance will be a long-term issue. We're not against the idea of possibly some leftover funds being allocated for some, like, benches, signage, things like that, you know, wear and tear of the community. But yeah, obviously we hope that you guys will set this as a priority just as much as us to kind of, you know, help with that upkeep as time goes on. As far as ADA compliance, we've been talking with Dallas a little bit, getting information from him. We've got an entrance sidewalk off East Street that'd be over right about 5 feet, so that'll be in compliance with the ADA standards on the sidewalk. The gates should be all 4 feet at least, so that also should be good with that. But again, we'll work with Dallas as the time comes to make sure we're in compliance with everything. So the big questions are the funding. Currently, we have $50,000 dedicated from the Richland County Board through the ARPA funds. That was allocated back in, I think, May of 2022. That was voted on and passed to allocate that money for a dog park. The entire project budget, currently we're looking at between fencing, water line, running water line, plumbers, fencing, benches, all the stuff inside of it, we're looking at roughly $125,000. That leaves a little bit of overages for things that we didn't account for, or maybe kind of missed on pricing up front, but we're thinking 125 should encapsulate everything we're looking for this park to make it usable and long-term enjoyable for the community. So back to the funding. We got $50,000 from the county. We're looking at raising another $50,000 from private donors as well as businesses. That has already started. We are probably over halfway for that chunk of change, and that comes up to the last $25,000. And that's kind of the reason I want to become as well tonight, is I wanted to make sure everyone's on board with the current layout, current features, kind of updated design, and to kind of see about your thoughts on that last 25 being helped with this by the city.
I have one question. So obviously it's a dog park. There'll be a lot of people who walk there with their dogs, but there'll also be a lot of people who don't live in that area who will have to drive there probably with their dogs if they want to, take their dogs just to go park to play. Is the thought they park in Miller's Grove or Musgrove and walk from there. I mean, have you guys accounted for people that might drive there? Because the only thing I'm afraid of is then you start to see everybody parking up here in the grass all along the dog park with their cars, and that's something I wouldn't want.
Mhm.
So, I mean, can there be signage that says, you know, no parking, please park it at Miller's Grove? I don't think Miller's Grove is that far from it, right?
No.
It's
Just-
not.
It's about,
It's close.
the entrance gate to the driveway at Miller's Grove is about 200 feet.
Okay.
And so we basically wanted to utilize the Miller's Grove parking lots because there is a good sized lot on that south side of the park. And we look at this as an extension of the park, right? It's not starting a brand new park, so we hope that they utilize the current parking that's at Miller's Grove.
Okay.
We have thrown around ideas of, on the far south side where the 235-foot fence is, even moving that up a few yards north, where in the future, because there is kind of a drive and a culvert on that south corner, where that could possibly use for a little bit of parking if we really needed something. But as of right now, we're not really thinking about adding any parking on this current location.
On the information that you gave us, or somebody did, it says list of requested city assistance, and there's 5 items there.
Mhm.
Is that in addition to the $25,000, or is that
I forget exactly what's on that. I believe that
water
was-
line ran from east to entrance of dog park for watering station, removal of concrete pad,
concrete
removal of
pads.
concrete pads, removal of dirt pile, leveling of area.
I would throw out those punch lists. Some of them have been done, like the concrete pads have been done, but like the dirt pile's still there. The leveling hasn't happened as well. And the water line, I think we kind of made that request before we knew the extent of that project. And so I mean, by all means, we'd be welcoming any kind of in-kind labor for, say, water hookup, things like that. But I think the quickest and easiest thing, because it sounds like you guys are down several employees through the street departments and things like that. And so that might be a lot to put on those departments that are shorthanded. And so I think the 25 would probably make it happen quicker. Now, the in-kind would obviously make it happen cheaper, but would probably take more time.
How many parking spaces are there now? I mean, if you opened it up today, how many people could park there?
There aren't any marked lines or curbs, but I would put it probably a little less than the current at Musgrove, the new turnaround that kind of is at Florence Drive, where it extends the turnaround. I think probably very close to the same amount you could get on that Florence extension, I'd say.
Which is,
I think the 50 to 60, I want to say. I could be wrong.
Probably a little generous. I'd say 40. You probably get 40 cars in there.
Okay. I would start out
60 be a little
the
generous.
Florence parking, I guess.
my experience at dog parks, there's never that many cars
Mhm.
there.
There's a lot of parking. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, it's a large, kind of chipped and sealed parking lot. Like I said, there's no curbs really to kind of mark out things, but it's a good size for,
Like the teens parking there.
yeah.
The teen hangout.
Yep, exactly.
So what is different from when you came in 22?
We shrunk the fence up just a little bit. We've done a little bit more research on water. I believe water's on the west side of East Street, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to get to, a little bit more pricier. Besides that, we've just had a little bit more details on the design, like the entrance, for example. I think that's about it. So like really the heart of the matter has not changed that much as far as design, things like that. It's just mostly there's new members on the board. Just want to make sure everybody's up to speed and likes the idea and kind of backs the idea.
Mm-hmm. And who's on your committee that's
The-
with this?
Currently, Belinda Hinton and Gwen Gassman are my main 2 helpers.
Mhm.
That's kind of who's heading up this project currently. Gene Weber, sorry.
So what
Always comes down, I'm sorry, John.
I was just gonna say, what are you needing from us? Are you needing to know if the city will kick in money, or?
I think that's the main issue this evening. I mean, we can still use our motion from 2022, possibly, and as long as you guys are still on board with that, I think we set up a special use fund account back then as well.
We did not ever set one up
Okay,
because
but
we did, you okayed it. We
Okay, you
didn't
guys
set
okayed
one up.
that, so I think that's in place, the design technically still in place, so, I mean, if we wanna keep it short and simple, the money would be a,
Only fund that's really in the black is tourism. Can we use tourism funds for this?
If we can get the dogs to
if we-
spend the night.
If we can.
well,
I,
I have a number of
Doggy
friends that
hotel?
travel, and
Okay.
when they go and they travel, they're traveling with their pets. And they do look for communities that have dogs, or they look for communities whether they just need to rest or, you know, get out of the car for a while, or if the dog needs to get out of the car, or if they're eating or buying gas or spending the night. People that come to the park and, you know, they play at ball diamonds, a lot of them are bringing their pets and, you know, they need a place to go to. So it is considered tourism. Is it like maybe pickleball? No. No.
It's more of an amenity for those people that come.
Yes, it is.
I mean, and I guess a perfect example of that is what, when Love's Truck Stop came, they built a small dog park there, because a lot of people have dogs with them anymore.
and our hotel is pet friendly, and, I mean, that could be something that they promote as well, is not only are they pet friendly, but they have amenities in town that also cater to their travel companions.
I have a question. What if, your $50,000 of private donors fundraisers doesn't happen? I mean, because nothing's been put in the account. So are those, do you actually have that money in place, or is it just, I mean, I've done some fundraising over the years,
Mhm.
and
A
I
little
know, I know that that someone's word isn't like someone's the money in the hand. So that's my only concern is what happens, that's a big chunk of change of the project. What happens if you don't have that $50,000? Could the money be that the city donates is contingent on you coming up with $50,000? And then if you didn't need the money, the 25,000, or you know for sure, can the last $25,000 of the project be the city's money is what I'm saying?
Right now, we have 70% of that committed. But
Again.
we didn't want to take anything, you know, until you approve it. So we feel pretty solid with 70% right now, and we didn't wanna start going out without approval.
Right.
So,
And I also, how do you know, like, you haven't done a lot of fundraising for this project. So how do you know that when you start doing these fundraisers that you won't surpass, I mean, if you already have 70% of the $50,000, if you do fundraisers, how do you know that you won't go ahead and raise the money on your own?
Well, I don't think we're gonna do many fundraisers, quote unquote fundraisers, because right now it's been basically talking to businesses and private donors. Like, there's just 3 to 4 of us, so that's a lot to handle on, say, pork burger sale or fill in the blank type true fundraiser. I think our main income will be givers, possibly grants, you know, like a little bit grants here and there, so, yeah, and that's where I think we've had good luck on getting those, you know, handshake deals at this point. And again, assuming,
Well, and right now, most of the money is pledged, and I can vouch that that money is there. The one thing, and I've talked to a couple other people, what we don't know is we need to work with the city. We need to make sure these are the things that you want, and we're all in agreement. And what we can't tell is until we do that, you know, really what our budget is. And so if, you know, and we need to ask, what are you asking from the city? We need to communicate and make sure that we're all on the same page, but we feel pretty comfortable with the money pledges that we have so far, but it is around that $50,000.
Well, I've, whether it's been pickleball or the Together We Play Park or any of those projects we've done, you know, I've always been of the thought that if the city can get a recreation facility, this being the dog park, for only having to pay 20% of the project. I mean, we apply for the OSLOG grants all the time, which are 80-20 matches, and we've done a lot of these, again, pickleball, the playground, things like that. I think it's in the city's best interest, in my opinion, if we can get another facility and again, I look at it as it's almost like another 80-20 matching grant, where we're only paying 20% of a facility that's going to be city owned and benefit the city long term. So I'm okay with it. Again, I don't remember how we do those things in the past, whether it's, contingent on the project happening or, the money being raised and things like that. But I'm good with it as long as we can figure out where it's coming from.
And this money wouldn't be leaving the city coffers technically, I mean, just be going, allocating to a special fund, so, that might ease your mind a little bit on, it's not going to a individual nonprofit or something like that.
Or how do we do the pickleball, like money couldn't be spent until they raised 80% of what they wanted to raise or something like that?
They raised the money and brought invoices in, paid. I mean, they gave the money to us, then they brought invoices in.
Then there was a
paid.
trigger too, wasn't there, percentage?
There might have been, I can't remember, cause we gave them 100,000 and they took that 100, but didn't give it back to us as they spent it. Once they got their 501 through the city, at first they didn't have it.
That was one of my questions. Are you a 501? Have you applied for that?
Mm.
Have you considered it?
They will run it through the city and
Through the
it'll be ours. They'll give us the money, the invoices will come here.
Cause this isn't, like pickleball, they're a continuing, program or group, like, we're not gonna hold tournaments, we're not gonna, continuing to need money for the location like they will, I guess. So that's where I feel that's just kind of extra cost and time that the 3-4 of us don't necessarily need to jump into that.
This may have been addressed in past meetings, discussions, but this will be a city-owned park, because, I mean, it is a city-owned park. With dogs involved, there probably will be some scrapping involved. Who is responsible for any kind of injury or liability if there's a dog fight? I mean, the individuals the dog owners, or is there any liability to the city for this?
It's on
I don't
city
recall.
property.
Yeah, it's.
But is it no different than kid falling down and scraping his knee, sliding into second base? I mean,
I think
how
the
is this
city's
covered?
pretty protected
Yeah.
with things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there would be something that you would want to ask.
Would it
the
need a rider or something
insurance.
talking about adding a dog park facility or something? But
You would definitely wanna contact the city's insurance carrier, just to, like any additional liability that you take on, you wanna make sure that your insurance carrier knows about it, but.
But it's not
likely,
uncommon.
It's not uncommon, yeah.
I just wouldn't want this to be like a,
There will be a poster board of rules, and we will try to make sure that we've covered as many issues as we can, so that, you're right, it's going to probably come up, but we're going to try to offset that with that rules, and that's where we'll wanna work together to make sure that we're all.
well, I'm in favor. They come down to the funding, and if it's not gonna come out of tourism fund, I don't think we have any kind of extra budgeted for anything through the park department for the dog park, do we, Jane?
We don't have anything budgeted,
We-
no.
we don't
It's-
have,
I mean,
so.
there's a little, it'd just come out of your general reserves.
Which is now currently sitting at ish.
I don't know, we've got money in
It's
there.
okay.
I mean,
I'm in favor.
I don't really see anything, you're asking for anything different than when you came in 22, correct?
Design wise,
Money.
nothing that, just money.
Money.
But they basically wanted money back then also.
We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I don't think they asked for money then.
It was just kind of labor and kind of.
It was just for it was just for the design of the dog park
Yeah,
and the land. But the land had already been given to them, but I think it had been such a long time that they were just asking for.
keep
Well,
it.
I think at that time there were some grant opportunities that might have been available that we were trying to get, so we didn't really know how much we might get, how much might cost, so. Questions, comments, motion?
So, I will make a motion for the city to contribute up to $25,000 for the dog park coming out of general reserves. With the stipulation that the rest of the money gets raised, or 70% of it gets raised before they start construction. Cause I think that's what we did with pickleball, I think it was like 70% they had to go.
So you're asking them to come up with about $105,000 before we kick in our 25.
Well,
Or 70.
it'd be, our 25 would be part of that, so.
Part of that, okay.
It's about 88,000.
88.
And this should be based on if the budget after we've gotten together and worked everything out still remains at $125,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking on 150, 125, even better. 88.
Have you priced anything? Has there been increases in the materials that you're gonna need?
We've not had an official new updated fence quote since spring of '22, so that's, I think, the biggest swing on things. We've just now recently gotten plumbing quotes, so we know those roughly, but the benches, the agility equipment, things like that have not changed much. We've not really priced those out back in the day either, so the fencing's kind of the biggest variable right now.
Just come through Master Halco, I assume, being all in the business.
Trying to, working on.
Have they been beneficent in their cooperation?
Mhm.
Or have they offered it at cost, or cost plus a small percent, or?
Don't have any exact figures from
Mm.
it, or don't have like percentage or anything like that, but yes, I've been, in talks with some of their admin and trying to make it work if possible, yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion now?
I have one question, sorry. So are we going to, they have to have all of that money in this account? The 70% has to be in this account before the city will give the and start it on, and then they can start on the project?
Yeah.
And so are we having them raise $100,000 in this account before are we just giving them 25, whether they raise 80,000 or 100,000?
I think if you wanted 70%, that'd be.
That would be
right,
88,000.
Just like 88, so you want 88 in.
That's what I'm
Jamie.
asking. Are we having them have 88,000 in this account before we give
move
them,
ours over.
before we move ours over?
I'm
Or
fine.
are we,
Yeah.
or
Because
do
they're
we
gonna
want,
start with it before they don't get, I
Yeah, I
think
mean-
that's reasonable.
Cause on our end, it's just Jane moving it over, right? I mean, it's not. So 80, yes.
Questions, comments? Any further input?
So you're basically just wanting money from us?
Currently today, yeah. I mean, I want your assistant guidance going forward, because I want you guys to green light, things, and I'll be back a time or two to,
are you asking for anything else?
not today.
No in-kind, no.
What does that mean, not today?
Again, maybe you're like green light on.
Like, are you gonna come
design.
back and ask for more money, for
I don't
more
plan on it, no.
labor, for us to install this? Now you need this?
If you guys
Morgan,
want to,
you can say no at that time.
if you guys want.
I can say no tonight.
I don't think we're asking for that, but what we will want to do is be able to work with you to make sure that we're both
On the same page.
on the same page, and that if there are any areas that we do need to consider an ADA requirement that we haven't considered, that you help us know
Figure
where
that
that
out.
is, and if the pricing, and we're not going to start and order anything until we have it all worked out together. And if it gets to be enormous because of whether we're paying prevailing wage or ADA requirements or something, more than what we've anticipated or given you today, we will come back to you and say, this is what's happened. We now have to decide, what are we gonna do? Do we do more fundraising, you know? We'll work that out. We want you on board with us, because, we just wanna participate in the dog park. We wanna do your fundraising for you.
I hate to complete, the list of 5 items that you had wanted us to do before, the only thing you want is the water line, correct? Now,
No, they don't.
We
Not
have
even
the
to do
water
our
line.
plumbing first.
I wouldn't worry about that, cause that was
That's huge.
much less extensive.
know.
Much less extensive than we know now. Like, we thought it would be, you know, here's your main, we're good to go, but
There isn't a main out there.
it's much more difficult, so you don't wanna do that in the 25, I promise.
oh, I figured.
So yeah, so 25 today is what we're trying to accomplish and get things underway.
Anything further? Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in
Roll
favor?
call.
Roll call, please. Call the roll.
Councilman Iyer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fernbacher,
No.
Councilman McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ikorst,
No.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. I'm gonna run. I've got kids playing baseball, but I will go ahead and present a $50,000 check to Jane from the county board, to get the project underway. So, appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
With that being said, I would like to thank the county board. They've been very good to the city over the last few years and helping us get some things done. We
Continue to grow that relationship, we hope, so.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, next item on the agenda, MFT concrete bid for use of miscellaneous construction work. Mr. Bridges.
We opened bids for the MFT items last Tuesdays. One of the items on that was the concrete MFT work. There was 2 bidders. Dolls Incorporated Tri-Systems. Tri-Systems was a low bidder, $148 per yard. That was below the estimate. So I would recommend you award that bid to Tri-Systems.
Motion to approve.
Second, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is approval of MFT bids for oil and chip. Mr. Bridges.
All the chip bids were held the same day. The oil and applying the cover coat aggregate, there was 1 bidder, Mount Carmel Stabilization. Total amount of their bid was $62,718.15. Furnishing the cover coat aggregate, there were 2 bidders, Carter Trucking and Three Sisters Logistics. Carter Trucking was a low bid, $24 per ton. I would recommend you award those bids to Mount Carmel Stabilization and to Carter Trucking.
Motion,
So moved.
second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is resolution to approve bid for Main Street Sanitary Sewer Relining Project. Mr. Bridges.
Last Wednesday, we opened the bids for the 3 sewer line projects in the city. At this time, we only recommend awarding one of them for the Main Street project. There were 2 bidders, Vision Sewer and In Situ. Vision Sewer was a low bidder, $187,976. I would recommend you award that bid to Vision Sewer for that work.
Is that where you thought it would come in around?
That's what-
Lower?
Based on what I heard before that, I was thinking more in the $250,000-300,000 range.
Oh, good.
Good deal.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to amend the City of Olney annual budget for fiscal year 24-25 for the Whittle Avenue Railroad Project. Ms. Quinn.
And so, for the work that's been done down there with the concrete and the asphalt, we will have to pay that up front, and then we will get reimbursed for that from IDOT later. So I'm just amending the budget to account for those expenses and then that money coming back in.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to amend the City of Olney annual budget for fiscal year 24-25 for the East Street Bridge Project. Ms. Quinn.
There, we are just amending that line item. There will be, We have a, MFT resolution there also to take the rest of that money out of the MFT funds, so the total on that line item will be $743,000.
Questions, comments, or motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an IDOT resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code for the East Street Bridge Project. Ms. Quinn.
So this is just, setting aside $141,000 out of our MFT funds to go towards that bridge project over and above the Build Illinois funds.
Questions, comments, or motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an ordinance to authorize the sale of items of personal property owned by the city of Olney. Riding mower from the Park Department. Mr. Barker.
This is a 2017 Husqvarna white riding mower that we recommend putting on gov deals to dispose of.
Questions, comments, or
Motion
motion?
to approve.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to accept quote for 2 dump trucks and waive formal bidding procedures. Mr. Barker.
Our street supervisor has information on these trucks. He has gone and inspected both of them to Mount Vernon. This is a company that we've done business with before and very satisfactorily. I have to say the truck we got from them. So Tyler, would you have any additional information on the trucks?
Justin went down and looked on them. They were 2017 Freightliners. One of them had 97,000, almost 98,000 miles, and one was a little over 60,000 miles. They would be replacing a 93 model and a 95 model. And that should get us in pretty good shape for about 5 years, and then we'll be looking to get rid of a 98 model that we're gonna try to limp along, swap a few things around to get us through.
Questions, comments?
How much do we have budgeted for these?
200 and something, 213. 213.
Okay, so it's a lot
Well
less.
within budget.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Tyler, sorry.
Second? Seconded.
But
And now, Mr.
Tyler, we're gonna trust in Dustin's expertise as our city mechanic, and he thought that even a truck with 100,000 miles, I know with the Cummins engine, and these have Allison transmissions,
Yeah.
so they'll easily go 300, but 100,000 miles going down the road at 60 mile an hour is quite a bit different than idling around town at 20 miles an hour, over time, so, he was confident that these were sound.
Yeah. We looked them
Did
over.
he see any specs on leak down from the engines? Did he see any kind of like Blackstone oil analysis on either on the fluids?
No.
Just going by his, did he do any inspection? Did he pull?
Yeah,
some
he pulled
sti-
dipstick,
Yeah,
he did all that
okay.
stuff.
And he was satisfied.
Yes, he was.
All right, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is report from elected and appointed officials. Status report, Mr. Barker.
I don't have anything additional, but glad to answer questions if anybody has any.
Any questions or comments from the city manager? Questions or comments? Very good. Next item on the agenda, RCDC report. Nothing there. Chamber of Commerce report.
There is the chamber luncheon on 6/18 at Smoke Rise. Joe Wright will be the speaker from OCC Theater. Also, the Friends of Olney had their first Sound of Summer this past Thursday, which was excellent. Ash Family, all 4 of them, played the entire time. And this week it will be Jonathan Lynn.
Very good. Mr. Hack.
For our RCDC manager, I had seen a report from minutes, perhaps to the county, about TJ Maxx. I mean, at least I hadn't heard anything from the council on the board here for what was going on there, but I did see something come across. I'm not even sure I did, but can you bring me up to speed on currently what's going on with TJ Maxx? You seem to know more than I had heard of recently.
Well, actually, I checked with Dallas on that today as well. They have, I believe, requested some permits. They have started doing some work. He does not have any updates for the last 30 days. The plan is still to be open next summer, summer of '25.
But but Cronkey Group they have signed an agreement that this will go forward? Or is it still being manipulated, the agreement?
I think that we are still awaiting the agreement, but I think the consensus is that it will be signed. It's on someone's desk to be signed off on,
Okay, whose desk is that?
Robert Crockett.
Okay, thank you.
Any, tourism board report?
Anything to report?
Nothing there. All right, anybody have anything else? Very good. I would accept a motion to enter into closed session to discuss the sale or lease price of real property, acquisition of real property, and appointment, employment compensation, and performance of specific employees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. We're now in closed session.